Hello guys, welcome back. Alright, so in this video I'll be talking about the forms and the things that are inside the form. In this page we have a page here. This page contains this is more like an image, it's a logo. Everything is nested inside a section or probably a div. Now, after the image tag we have this section, and this section was given a border of what looks like probably 5 to 10 pixels solid red. This can be done with CSS, and then I believe this is the footer of the page. But inside the form we have an what looks like an H1 that says please sign in, and then we have two input elements. We have this checkbox, and then we have the sign up button. So the form element itself is a shell or container that doesn't have any visual impact. Just like tables. In the case of tables, remember I said the first thing is to declare the table tag. And once you declare your table tag, opening and closing tag, it doesn't show anything until you begin to write things inside the table head and the table body. Alright, so we then fill the form with a collection of inputs, checkboxes, and buttons, etc. Alright, this is one example here. It has a username value. This is the input, password value. This is the input, and a date of birth. This is the input. I remember I talked about the form action. Send this data to myserver.com. This is just a dummy address which does not exist, and that is where we usually put in our form action. I said that you send your form, you submit it to a particular location, a particular address, which will probably address very soon. All right, so the form element should present a document section containing interactive controls for submitting information. That is just what it is. You take user information, user input, user data, and you submit them to a particular server. Like I said before, the action attribute specifies where the form data should be sent. The method attribute specifies which HTTP method should be used. But like I said, we should not worry about that for now. All right, so now back to our VS Code. We have our page here. Oh, I've not pasted. Okay, let's copy and paste our file path in our browser. So apparently we just have an H2, and we have our form. We've already declared our form element already. We've declared our form element, but we've not actually written anything. So there are various things that we can write. We're going to start from the input elements. Input element is actually the major part. It's the major thing. You can see once I type input, they have various options here. Various options. So I'm just going to do inputs naturally. For every input tag, let me format this. For every input tag, element rather, it always comes with a type property. So peradventure you're typing this with your phone, you're doing this with your phone. Once you declare your input element, inside that it is self-closing, just like the image tag. If you notice, the input does not have a closing tag like this. It is self-closing. So once you declare it inside the tag, you would have the type attribute. Once I press enter here, VS Code gives me a variety of options of input types that we have. These are, I think we should probably have almost 15 input types here. So we're going to start from text. If you scroll down, you probably see text somewhere. This is text. So let's click on text. And then once I save, we'll refresh our browser, and this is what we have. Just, you can see it. This is an input. I can type things inside. All right, now, but beyond this, if you just put this kind of thing on the browser, the user won't understand what exactly this is for. I mean, this does not make any sense. Form for what, input for what, and that leads to what we call placeholder. Placeholder is a value, is an attribute that you attach to every input element. So we use the placeholder, enter. The placeholder simply means write something here that the user would know that, okay, this is what you expect me to enter. So the placeholder, let's write it, for instance, email. Let's write maybe email, email address. Oh no, not email, username. Now once I save, I refresh my browser, this is what I have. Now note, by the time the user starts typing, the placeholder is no longer visible. Can you see? It is only once it's empty that the placeholder is there. But still, we can actually add something to this to make it better. And not just placeholder, this time around, we have what we call label elements. For every input element, it is always essential to add what we call the label element. The label describes, what the form is. So the label naturally comes with the 4 attributes. Peradventure, you're typing this by yourself on your phone. Once you type your normal label tag and the closing tag, inside of it, we can write enter username. Now, once I save, refresh my browser, and this is what I have. I think it makes more sense this way. Believe me, you can actually do more styling, you can make it more fancy with CSS. But since this is just an HTML class, I have my enter username, and the user understands that, okay, this box here is for me to enter my username. Now you should understand that, like I said, every input should always have this label element attached to it. And then inside the input, we should always have the placeholder. And for every label, we should have these 4 attributes. 4 attributes here goes hand in hand with what we call ID attributes. You would probably learn more about ID attributes when you get to learn CSS. The ID attribute is an identifier, helps the browser to identify, because later on when you get to CSS and you want to start styling, you would need to use this ID attribute. Like I said, you might not understand now, but when you get to CSS, you understand properly. So it tells the browser that, okay, give me an ID identity for this particular guy here. Just like in school, everyone has an identity card. We have so many people in a class, but every student has an ID card. No two or three students shares the same ID. So every element has its own ID. Now, this input element, we can give it an ID of username as well. You should understand that anything you give the ID should be the same thing you should give these 4 attributes. So I'm going to give the 4 attributes as well, username. Once I save, I refresh, it is there. Now, if you notice that by default, this place is not even, if I type anything, it is not showing, except I click inside this box. Then you can see that the border is bolded, and then it's ready to accept input. Now, something else, look at this. I click away. If I want to type, to show that your label has been connected to your input, once I click on this label, can you see that the same effect happens? So whether I click here or I click here, it activates this input. That is one good way to be sure that your label is perfectly working. All right, so in this video, we had our first input element, and which is type or set to text. In the next video, trust me, they are quite, if I showed us, we have up to 15. In the next video, we'll continue and I'll show us a few others. See you in the next video.